Hey everybody, it's Commander Club. Welcome back to another patch note video. Going to be going over the World Serpent update today. So, yeah, this is a terrible intro. Anyway, so yeah, scroll down. Jormungandr is now in the game. Well, in PTS anyway. So if you don't have the test server, make sure you download it on Steam. If you want to get a chance to play this guy early, he's new Norse Guardian. Look at his big ugly face. Look at this guy. Scary. It's actually the largest god in the game. They had to completely change the camera angle for him because of how tall he is. He's actually taller than Vamana during his ultimate. So, there you go. Anyway, with that being said, his passive is immovable. Jormungandr is so large that he cannot be affected by hard displacement. Instead, he gets dazed. Dazed is a debuff on Jormungandr that is a fading slow and increases the damage he takes for the duration. Any attack speed past base reduces the cooldown rate of Jormungandr's basic attack. Slow 20% fading over 2 seconds. Increased damage to Jorm. To Jorm. They're just calling him Jorm. 10% duration 2 seconds. So what this means is he's not affected by knockups, knockbacks, pulls, etc. Any type of ability that would cause him to be displaced and moved somewhere else does not work, and instead it will debuff him. And he becomes slowed and takes increased damage for 2 seconds after. However, for stuns and mezzes, he can still be affected by those. So, there you go. Venomous Haze. Jormungandr fires noxious spit in an area that deals damage and creates a large toxic cloud. This field damages and slows enemies inside of it every second. Jormungandr can have a maximum of 9 toxic clouds at a time. Assuming he has the cooldown that actually put that many out, which he probably doesn't. Anyway, damage 80 up to 240 plus 40% of your magical power. That's base damage for where it is played. Targets immediately take when it's placed on top of them. And then cloud damage per tick while it's active is 5 up to 45 plus 5% of your magical power. 15% slow, so duration is 1 second. Cloud duration is 20 seconds. So this cloud with the tick damage will be on the ground for that long. Cooldown is 16 up to 12 seconds, or scaling down to 12 seconds at rank 5. Mana cost goes from 60 to 80. Range 65, 10 radius. Cloud radius is 15. Consuming Bellow. Jormungandr draws power from toxic clouds nearby while channeling for 1.2 seconds. At the end of the channel, Jormungandr roars, dealing damage to all enemies, trembling and slowing enemy gods by 30% for 1.5 seconds. Each cloud increases the size of Consuming Bellow and empowers him up to 3 times, while also dealing extra damage to enemies hit. Extra damage after the first instance is halved. While empowered, Jormungandr's basic attack fires at its fastest rate. And the damage is 120 up to 360 plus 50% of your magical power. And bonus damage from clouds are 20 to 60 plus 10% of your magical power. I believe that is correct. And powers him up to 3 times while also dealing extra damage. So yeah, there it is. Damage mitigation while channeling 10%. Empowered basic attack buff 1 second per stack. Max stacks 3. Duration slow 30%. Slow duration 1.5 seconds. Initial radius 20 and radius 30. Cooldown 14 seconds. Mana cost 70 seconds. Now the end radius of 30 is if you've got all three. If you've got 3 toxic clouds to empower him, it will increase the radius to this point. Without any, it only is 20 radius. Submerged, Jormungandr submerges into the ground, turning invisible as he searches for prey. During this time, he moves faster and gains predatory vision, sensing all enemies in a large radius. Firing this ability while invisible reveals Jormungandr as he emerges out of the ground, knocking up enemies around him. Taking damage from enemy gods also breaks the stealth. Damage 70 to 290 plus 50%. Movement speed 25%. Duration 5 seconds. Cooldown 18 seconds. Mana goes from 70 to 90. Radius of 20. And then the World Serpent Ultimate. Jormungandr prepares to enter into the world, enlarging as he prepares a devastating attack. After selecting a target area, Jormungandr flies into the air, diving down and crashing into enemies as his body then slams into the ground. He must travel 2 more times when Jormungandr emerges and submerges. During this ability, he knocks up enemies, and with each submerged, he leaves behind a toxic cloud. And when he does that, I mean, he gets big, dude. It's really, you gotta see it in the game to really feel this. Wait, submerged damage, 150 to 350 plus 40% of your magical power. Emerge, crash damage, 75 to 175 plus 20% of your magical power. Cooldown is 120, scaling down to 100. Mana cost 100, radius 20. Now, it is possible to hit somebody with all of this multiple times. It's pretty difficult because he is kind of slow when he does that. But yeah. Any new skins? Deathbringer King Arthur. Looks cool. I like this. This is weird. Or, I mean, this doesn't need to be here because Neath has 8 billion skins. A new Neja skin is cool. Why? I don't like this skin concept, personally. They did one with Sun Wukong. I'm just not into that. Bane Scotty. It's cool. It's interesting. And then Mastery skins. New cosmetic items, blah blah blah. Don't care. Project Olympus. Deserter reset time increased from 1 day to 5 days. First deserter penalty decreased from 30 minutes to 10 minutes. Second deserter penalty decreased from 60 minutes to 30 minutes. Third deserter penalty increased from 1 hour to 4 hours. Fourth deserter penalty increased from 4 hours to 1 day. Any additional deserter penalties applied will repeat the fourth. The system is being upped. Yeah, they just want it to not punish people so badly if they mess up and get deserter for some dumb reason. Now, if you keep on doing it, then obviously you're stupid. So they're increasing the penalties. It's your fault at that point. Whatever. Gameplay indicators have been added in Conquest to make it more clear what team kills and objectives. Siege towers now have icons, in-depth recap, top stats, objective bars. Updated the bottom bar on the console home screen to make it more clear when a player has navigated to that menu. Good. Bug fixes. Gameplay. Fixed errata Tahuti passive not working with Merlin stances outside of Arcane. Fixed Evolved Warrior's Blessing to now proc with King Arthur's basic attacks. Fixed issue where Neath could target Totem of Ku. Fixed a highlighting issue with Merlin Frostbolt where it would highlight enemies outside of explosion radius. Fixed issue where if Chiron Ultimate is cancelled immediately, then the player will be unable to basic attack. Fixed Alkaline Dragon Knight skin missing AoE FX on Wildstorm. UI fixed an issue with match details and history not showing correct player names. Fixed missing UI elements at spectator end of match lobby, match ID, replay button, game type, and game duration. Fixed players unable to view offline profiles through search. Fixed options menu not populating for spectator clients. Fixed friends list showing a non-friend if they were partied with you, then log off. Fixed an issue where you could not send a friend request to a player that was not logged on. Fixed an issue where match of the day descriptions would not appear on the play screen. Console fixed an issue where if a player receives desert or penalty on console, then they'll have an unresponsive button prompt in the top left of home screen. Fixed an issue where console players were unable to invite others to a custom match by name. Balance updates, Totem of Coup fixed an issue where Totem would gain significantly more health per kill than the intended 200. The Totem of Coup can no longer be targeted or affected by God-only abilities. The Totem of Coup can no longer be attacked when it is inactive. Speed buff, decreased speed buff from 10 to 5%. Anyway, fun stuff. Item balance. Assassin's Blessing changed the evolution bonus from 10 penetration to 5 penetration and 5% movement speed. The power level of evolved Assassin's Blessing compared to an unevolved Assassin's Blessing is large, more so than other blessings. We want to bring it more in line with the reward for the other blessings. Simple. Celestial Legion Helm. Although this item might not have been one of the most popular, it was putting up extreme results at high skill levels. Celestial Legion Helm was simply too stat efficient for its cost. It was leading to mage ADCs pushing out hunters and making mid lane mages nearly impossible to gank. As we just the jungle role, we wanted to nerf this counter to them at the same time and make this a more difficult itemization decision. Increase cost from 2050 to 2150. Decrease physical protections gained per stack from 10 to 7. Another new feature of Season 6 is seeing a buff. We wanted to release this elixir with caution to avoid extreme meta shifts with a new overtuned item. It seems we were a bit too conservative and people aren't getting opportunities to try this item out. As I expected, the cost is being brought down to increase the chances of being used so we can gather more data and feedback to its impact on the game. As I suspected, increased 2,000 gold starting point was too much. People were not finding a way to fit it into builds very efficiently. That's what I expected. So they decreased the gold, which now that it costs is the same as boots, maybe now you'll actually think about it. I think that was the main problem, was 2,000 gold is too much for you to just decide to try to get it, unless you're in a super light game situation. Now this makes that a little more likely. Ooh. Spirit of the Magus. Mages, along with junglers, have been perceived as the most powerful classes in the start of Season 6. Both are seeing some itemization changes to bring them more in line with other classes. Spirit of the Magus provides an insane amount of penetration and was being picked up even on mages that cannot stack the passive easily. A nerf to its base pen and an increase in cost will bring mages of all types down in overall strength. Increased cost from 2,300 to 2,450. Decreased base magical penetration from 15 to 10. Which is fine. The thing's already got the pen, the protection reduction on it, so it's like it's got a lot of pen, so that's good. Void Stone, while on the surface a Guardian nerf, the increased cost and reduction in its penetration directly affects mage power level, with Spear, Obsidian Shard, Soul Reaver, and the additional contribution of Void Stone on a team. Mages could quickly shred through a variety of targets. Not only did this item effectively help mages, but it was a powerful choice for Bruisery Guardians and allowed them to 1v1 pure DPS classes too effectively. We feel with these adjustments the item will be in a healthier spot. Increased cost from 2,150 to 2,250. Decreased aura penetration from 20 to 15. So that one's more like just a tank item. Which is good. Keeps it from being abused. If you're reading, let's see, Achilles, if you're reading ahead, you might notice quite a few warriors on this list. One of our goals in Season 6 was to bring back a warrior into the solo lane. While the Totem of Coup and buffs to Warrior's Blessing seem to have done this, some warriors are still underperforming. While they aren't too far off, we want to help these warriors to ensure a diverse pool of solo lane contenders. Rather than improving their burst, we want to focus on their defensive capability. allowing them to get into mid and late game team fights more effectively and disrupt opponents. Achilles' Radiant Glory is a conditional heal that requires him to hit multiple targets with his abilities. We want to better reward him for successfully accomplishing this. Increased heal from 23 to 35 to 24 to 40. From ranks 1 to 5. Master of War gives Bellona an additional edge in combat. When she's actively fighting, we want to increase its effectiveness, giving her a slight bump in her tankiness at all stages of the game. Master of War increased protections from 4 protections per stack to 5. Cuchulainn. They're just bringing him back, dude. During the dev talk, we discussed Cuchulainn's current performance and how the cooldown reduction to his ult didn't really make much of an impact. We are giving him some base stat love to help his level very early game, but we are also increasing the mana conversion rate of his passive. This should open up the pool of items Cuchulainn can use effectively, including items like Breastplate of Valor and Gladiator Shield, which you're already building anyway because it's silly. Increased base HP from 475 to 480. Increased basic attack power from 38 to 39. And then on Berserk, increased health conversion from 15 to 20% of mana. Fafnir. Fafnir continues to struggle in Season 6. This god has high potential to dominate the Pro League, as we have seen in the past, so we take a careful approach toward buffing him. Fafnir has a lot of utility in lockdown, but he struggles heavily in the early laning phase. Over the years, he was nerfed multiple times, and now we plan to revert one of those nerfs, with Fafnir's overall utility being much lower than at launch time. His base damage on his primary clear ability can be raised back to its original amount. Cursed Strength increased base damage from 80 to 260 to 100 to 260. So he's got a little bit more early potential with this item ability. Hello. I don't. So okay, I'm not going to read through all this, but basically that they gave her a pretty huge power spike, having that huge burst, and she would just beat you by hitting a banish, and you were just dead at that point. So whatever, they're trying to smooth out her damage. I'll start from here so we don't have to go through all this nonsense. We're doing a single ability rework and a few balance tweaks to help smooth out our damage, make it feel more skillful and avoidable, while also giving older Freyja players some of the feeling of a bonus reward for successfully landing multiple shots on enemies. Northern Lights will now have 5 shots, spreading out the damage from a single, largely unmissable burst into 5 separate unmissable shots. Players familiar with Old Freyja will have a similar feeling of combining the 1 and the 2 to really burn down targets, but only if they can land the shots. Additionally, Mystic Warrior and Aurora Blades have had small balance adjustments to work with Northern Lights more appropriately. Mystic Warrior will heal on each ammo shot, so its overall healing has been toned down. Northern Lights will now have 5 shots, meaning players will be firing ranged attacks more often. We're reducing the mana cost to make this a bit more manageable. Mystic Warrior decreased self-heal on hit from 2 to 1.5%. Northern Lights has been adjusted. 5 shots, each basic attack consumes a charge, even if that attack does not hit. Damage decreased from 40 to 200 to 11 to 75. Damage scaling decreased from 40% to 10%. Oh, right, because this is split into 5 shots now. And versus the single burst damage. I didn't read that correctly. The Aurora Blade still does the toggle. Charges less indefinitely, ability goes on cooldown, are consumed. So this is better because it's not, she hits the banished guaranteed huge burst, and then you follow up. Here it's, you have to confirm all the shots to get the full benefit of the damage, which gives other players the ability to avoid some of that damage, which is good. And Aurora Blade reduced mana cost from 20 to 40% to 14 to 30. 40%, sorry, it's just 40 mana to 14 to 30 mana. To remember, this is your toggle between ranged and melee. That's the mana cost for each shot in ranged. Hachiman in Season 5, we nerfed Hachiman's early lane pressure and slow from mounted archery. Since then, he has fallen out of favor over time and sits low compared to other hunters. We are reverting the nerf to Heavenly Banner, giving him extra lane clear and boxing power during early skirmishes. Heavenly Banner increased damage from 75 to 295 to 85, scaling up to 305 at rank 5. Similarly to other warriors, Hercules is getting an increase to his survivability as if he needs that. While his heal has potential to be incredibly potent, his survivability is heavily lacking when anti-heal is applied. He needs to really get into fights to push and pull his opponents, so we are increasing the protections provided from mitigate wounds to help it mitigate incoming wounds. XD. Increased protection buff from 10 to 50 to 20 to 60. So that's 10 prots across the board. Fun, as if this god wasn't already broken enough. People say he's in a bad spot, and I'm like, it's Hercules though. This god's always been stupid. Boulder's single highest is the highest single proc of physical damage, I'm pretty sure, in the game. And they gave it a low cooldown. His healing's always been, his passive is completely dumb. It's like, oh, let's buff him more. Odin, especially in mode centered around team fighting, is a powerhouse. Not only is his ultimate a strong lockdown, but it applies a powerful anti-heal and attack speed slow, really limiting enemies' options to counterplay, being locked in a cage while a team throws all their abilities into it. The attack speed slow is especially punishing when it comes to trying to fight back, and we feel it really pushes this ability over the top. This ability no longer applies an attack speed slow to enemies in its area. Sobek was a powerful threat in the solo lane during Season 5, really starting the trend of Guardians flexing to that role and stifling picks. I felt like that was RTO, but okay. With the adjustments to the solo lane, we feel comfortable bringing power back to Sobek, but feel reverting the cooldown on Tail Whip will result in the same result, stifling diversity. We instead are focusing on increasing his base tankiness, allowing him to be more successful in charging into the enemy team and heavily disrupting opponents. Base stats increase HP 5 per level from 81 to 86. Blessing of the Nile increased protections per stack from 7 to 10. Sylvanas brings healing and control to any team he is on, but one of these components is a bit clunky. Wisps needs to not only travel to the target, which we are slightly speeding up, but allies do not benefit from the wisp until a tick can happen, making it feel delayed. Most abilities that tick have an initial hit to avoid this delayed feeling, and for already being delayed by travel time, we feel this ability should have that immediate impact. Wisp increased projectile speed from 50 to 100. This does not affect the initial release speed. Wisp now apply an additional tick right as they hit an ally or enemy. Same damage / heal on other ticks. As other ticks, damage 10 to 30 plus 10% of your magic power. Heal 15 to 35 plus 10% of your magical power. And here's Tyr. Tyr has also struggled to come back into the solo lane, not only with Season 6, but for most of Season 4 and 5. We have done some large adjustments to him, but he has still struggled to really make a showing. We want to increase his ability to survive engagements and give him a slight bump to his tankiness against physical attackers. Base stats increased base physical protection from 15 to 18. Power cleave increased healing from 25 to 105 to 30 to 130. Okay, that's a big rank 5 buff on that. Yikes. And back to Vamana. at the very end, Vamana's Colossal Fury is really impacting the battleground, allowing him to survive team fights more effectively and being a powerful disruptor. One consequence of the change was he lost all collision, making him pass through players in addition to player-made walls. This made him difficult to counter, while also making him miss targets he was in since they could juke into him. He will not collide with... He will now collide with players, making both of these situations feel better. Guys, come on, that's a big typo there. People are going to get confused with that. Anyway, Colossal Fury now collides with players only. Okay, and that is going to do it for these patch notes today, guys. Really looking good. Buffing up some of these Guardians and nuking this character. I hate Freya. Anyway, good patch today. Jormungandr is out on PTS, so like I said, if you want to try it out early, don't forget to download that from the Smite page on Steam. If you're interested, he should be in the full game next week, and I will see you guys later for... Well, before that, actually, like and subscribe. If you guys enjoyed the video, leave a comment down below about the new patch if you'd like. And as always, check the helpful links down in the description below. I'll see you guys later for some more Smite. Have a good one. Why is my hotkey not working? Bye.